Hey everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a card using the March stamp of the month called Winged Masterpiece. You can get this stamp for $5 with any $50 purchase, or for free if you're a VIP with a $50 purchase. Okay, so I'm going to use the big butterfly in this stamp set, and then the sentiment comes from Every Bit of Wonderful, and this is the Operation Smile stamp set that's available all year. So I've mounted the butterfly in my MISTI, and I'm using a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor paper, and it's not cut at any specific size because I'm going to be trimming it down, so it's just large enough to accommodate the butterfly. And I'm inking it up in black, and I'm going to stamp it twice because this is a textured, it's got a tooth to it, watercolor paper, and so it's just the image doesn't come out completely clear the first time, so you have to ink it up pretty good. That's why I'm using my MISTI. So I'm stamping it a second time just so I get a really bold black image. So we'll get that stamped out, and then I'm going to clear emboss over the black stamped image. So I'm leaving everything where it is, and I'm going to ink everything up using Versamark ink. And this is a sticky ink to use when you're using embossing powder. So I'm going to get that inked up, and I'll stamp right over in the same place where the black stamped image. So I'm kind of locking that black ink onto that watercolor paper. Okay. So I'm going to bring in my clear embossing powder and sprinkle that on top of my image, and then just tap off the excess. Okay, get that cleaned up, and then I'll bring my heat tool in and we'll melt that embossing powder. So I'll speed this up super fast, and we'll get all of that melted. Okay, now we're ready to put some color on the butterfly. So I'm going to bring my glass mat in, and I'm going to tape down my image, and I didn't use enough tape the first time, so don't do it this way. You'll see me later on. I had to put some thicker tape on there to make sure that it stays put, because once water gets on the watercolor paper, it really starts to bow. So I'm using these shimmer powders from Nuvo. The first one is called Lilac Waterfall, and you just tap a bit of the powder out, and then the other color is called Blue Blitz. So I'm putting the lilac onto the butterfly image and the blue around it, but it's going to do its own thing and move around. So it's the nature of these powders. And then you just spritz it with water and just watch the effect take place. And then I decided I needed a little more of the lilac on the butterfly image. So you can just add more and move things around with a paintbrush. So this is where it started to bow up too much for me to work with. So there we go. Now I've got it really tacked down. So, and then I just kept adding powder and moving it around with a paintbrush until I liked the final result. It's an easy way to get color onto this image. If you don't want to, it's a beautiful design, and you can color in all of the details. It'd be fun with the tri-blend markers, but if you want a quicker way of coloring your image, this is a good way to go. There's lots of options with this design. Okay, so while that is drying, I set it aside and let it dry, and I'm going to start working on the base of my card. So I'm going to have a border of black. So I cut that down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then I'm bringing in a piece of white daisy cardstock, and I'm going to cut this a 1/4 inch smaller, so that's 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to mat my butterfly image, and so I want it to be square, and I really wanted it to be 3 1/2 inches, but I'm not sure how large my butterfly image is going to be. So I'm going to cut this at 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and I can always trim it down smaller. I want a bigger white field around the edges of that. So, but we'll start with a larger piece and I can always trim it down. So now I'm deciding where my sentiment is going to go, and I'm going to stamp that in black ink in the lower portion of the piece of white daisy. Pretty simple design. I want the shimmer and color from the shimmer powder to shine with that beautiful butterfly image. Okay, so I have my sentiment stamped and I'm going to start to assemble the card. So the black is going to go on with white Tombow tape runner, and then I'll layer the white on top of it. Go ahead and put that down with tape runner as well. And I'll leave a black border around everything. Okay. All right. So that's the base. And now I'm going to bring my dried butterfly back in. So this is where it gets a little scary, but be bold and go for it. So I'm going to trim that piece down and I'm going to cut off part of my butterfly image. So I'm trimming that and I'm kind of figuring out how much I'm going to be able to use. And I decided that I would be able to cut that down to 3.5 inches square. So I'm just cutting off the excess and figuring out where I want that butterfly placed within that square. So I'm trimming the rest of it off. Okay, so that's what's going to go on my card. So now, because I was able to trim that at 3.5 inches square, 3.25 inches square, I'm able to take my black cardstock and cut that down to 3.5 inches square. So I can mat my butterfly with a thin line of black around it. So I've got a piece of craft foam. This is really thin craft foam. And at first I thought I was going to pop just the butterfly image, and then I decided that I want to pop the black square with the butterfly on it. So I'm going to glue my butterfly image to the black mat, and then I'll glue the craft foam to the back of that. So I have to hold it down for a long time to make sure it dries flat, and then I'll place my craft foam down, and then I'll place it on my card front. So I'm not adding any additional bling or anything. I'm going to keep it clean and simple and let the color shine and shimmer. So all of these supplies, with the exception of the Nuvo shimmer powder, are available in my online store, and the stamp of the month is available only during the month of March. And then I'll have some close-ups of another version of the same card that I used other shimmer powder colors with. So this one I used Sunray and Cherry Bomb and Falling Leaves. I think they both turned out really pretty. So I appreciate you watching my video today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And thanks for watching.